Talofa, and welcome to Behind the Lava Lava, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of the vibrant people and cultures of the Pacific. I'm your host, Michael Tan, and I'm joined today by my co-hosts, Milford and Spencer. This episode is brought to you by Matai Watches, a luxury timepiece brand that embodies the essence of the Pacific Islands. So today we have a special guest, Mark Sagapolutele, aka Mareko, a New Zealand rapper and hip-hop artist of Samoan descent from South Auckland, who is also a member of Deceptikonz. Welcome, Mark.
What's up, everybody? Thank you for having me.
So, Mareko, could you tell us of your humble beginnings, where you're from, your family?
Yeah, I'm an MC out of South Auckland, New Zealand. I'm staying in sunny Sunshine State, Queensland, Australia at the moment. It's not too sunny at the moment, but I've been rapping my whole life, full Samoan. My dad's from Salufata, Western Samoa. My mum's from Safungi, Savaii, and New Zealand born, Samoan, and part of a quartet of MCs called the Deceptikonz, and which is myself, Savage, Alfrisk, and Devolo. And we're all like a fruit salad of MCs from Polynesia. Devolo's Tongan, Alfrisk is Rarotongan, Cook Islander, and me and myself and Savage are both Samoan. But just got into the game as a budding and aspiring rapper. I found the music of hip hop or the culture as a whole attractive, and signed to the now defunct Dawn Raid Entertainment label, and was blessed to have this art form take me all over the world and see places I'd never really seen. My first time on a plane or out of Auckland was for a hip hop summit, and that was at the age of like 20. So very blessed to be part of this hip hop culture, representing South Auckland, Samoa.
So you grew up in South Auckland. Could you tell us about that part of your life and how you've seen the changes now from then to present day?
South Auckland is considered like the low socio-economic part of New Zealand. There's a lot of Polynesian families or brown people as a whole doing it tough out there. Growing up, it was a much harder place. Or actually, it's still hard with the new laws that have come in that have caused like a lot of homelessness and a lot of people sleeping in their cars and that. But, to get out of that situation, doing something that you love, be it sport, music, art, or whatever, was sort of a blessing. That's what everyone aspires to do, is try and get out of their situation, and to do it, being able to do that, doing something that I had a passion for, was really a blessing for me and the boys. Like Savage is really doing well, and he's taken it to the next level. And so really blessed to, South Auckland will always be home and have a special place in my heart. But trying to survive there is a real difficult task to do. So, getting out of there was a real blessing.
That's awesome, man. And so, thanks for sharing that with us. Now, I apologize that I'm going to be asking some questions that you've been asked dozens of times over your career and interviews. But, full disclosure up front, I'm embarrassed to say this because, like, I consider myself a hip hop head. Like, I grew up loving hip hop music. I'm all steeped in it, but it wasn't until recently not recently, maybe like a decade or so ago, that I realized that there was a whole segment of it on the other side of the world that I was not hip to. And once I found out that there was New Zealand hip hop, I had no idea. And I've been trying to catch up with it, but I'm still kind of behind. T was in the know, so he like put us on to some of your music. I was playing it. I'm like, man, how come I didn't know about this when it dropped? Because I would have been banging that all the time. And so what I want to ask is, I'm very familiar with how people come into their own in hip hop, discovering their unique brand of hip hop, their flow, their story, etc. Here in the West. But what was it like for you? How did you come into hearing about the music, emulating it, and forming it into your own style and like the flavor that we get from New Zealand and specifically yours? What was your journey into entering this realm?
Yeah, well, I'm the youngest of four brothers. So growing up in my household, so this would be like the mid to late '80s. I'd always hear music being blasted around, which would be, it would be like Beastie Boys, Run DMC, Public Enemy, or a whole bunch of stuff. The old R&B, Michael Jackson, the Jets, and even the traditional Samoan stuff like Punya Lava, Five Stars from my parents. So I was just immersed in this musical household. And what really stuck with me was the sound of and the stories of hip hop music. I really found that attractive. And, it'll start with me just reciting favorite songs, old Public Enemy songs to my friends. And, I'd figure out that they weren't really, interested in it like I was. Sometimes you get frustrated when other people don't share your passion with what you have. So, it started with just rapping songs that were already on the radio to the point where maybe I was like 12, 13. I'd start, scribbling my own raps and giving it a go. And that's how I bumped into one of my Deceptikonz members, Alphas. We'd write our own raps during class. We won't be listening to the teacher or doing our schoolwork. We'd just be scribbling raps. And then at lunchtime, we'd come out and, try and battle each other with these written raps. And I think the point of difference with us is just our stories that we tell on this side of the world. Being, Southern Hemispheric Polynesians, we just tell our stories. Our struggles aren't the same with what's happening in New York or LA or Oakland. So our point of difference was just that. And it's good now because I feel like New Zealand, Auckland in general, is like the Polynesian capital of the world. So we've been telling our stories for a long time. But at the moment right now, the real hotbed of Polynesian rap music is here in Australia. And it's good because now they have their stories to tell, because the Samoan boy in Sydney has a way different story to the Samoan boy growing up in South Auckland. And it's real cool and refreshing to hear, a different side of the story. But being like coming from guys that look like yourself, that could be your family member or your cousins, is real awesome. Yeah.
Mareko, real quick, where did the name Deceptikonz come from? Who came up with that name?
That was I came up with that name. Obviously, it's from the Transformers. It was the baddies in the Mattel Transformers brand. But around the time that we got into it, like growing up, being from South Auckland, it was really heavily influenced by like West Coast gangster rap. So everyone was, imitating, Tupac or Snoop Dogg, which we were into, but they would have like gang names would be like 3-letter abbreviations, like the RSBs or the CIS, and everyone had a name like that coming from the gang culture in Auckland. So I thought, man, you know what? Let's try and stand out. We'll be ourselves, and we'll just come up with something totally different, totally left field. So I came up with the name Deceptikonz, and I feel like that name really helped with us, because even our style of rap was totally different. Everyone was talking about shooting you and stabbing you, and we were coming out, heavily battle influenced lyrics, like, talk about their mum, talk about the clothes they were wearing. And, people looked at us like we were aliens or unicorns, because it was totally different to what everyone else was hearing. So, Deceptikonz, from long story short, was from the Transformers cartoon.
And how was it working with other iconic artists, especially your teammate Savage?
Yeah. Well, man, I always knew Savage was going to blow. He had that star quality in him. Whereas I'm more reserved and laid back. He's like in your face, intense, sort of like Fat Man Scoop, the Samoan Fat Man Scoop. But he had the character to always go all the way, and really proud of what he's accomplished and what he's still accomplishing. Because when that guy's winning, we're all winning. I feel like not only us, but Polynesian hip hop as a whole is winning, and he's gone on to do like beautiful things. Like he was performing to millions at Tomorrowland, the big European festival, and then he'd come back and do like a real intimate pub gig to like 30 people. So he's really transcended all boundaries, and it's awesome to see because he's waving the flag for us. Not just the team, but as Polynesian Samoan hip hop as a whole. Awesome to see.
Hey, real quick, allow me to talk about, let's go back to like 05. Just me and my cousins on YouTube. And we knew about Scribe. We heard Dreaming. I forgot how. And then Jason Afualu, he was an MC back then. I think he still might be now, but he was the one who put us onto you. And then, we would have debates like, Scribe, Mareko, who do we like better?
Yeah.
But fast forwarding a couple of years, I'm not sure when they went on tour over there in New Zealand, but Slap Symphony, when they were going around and networking and meeting some of y'all, he came back, and then, New Zealand came up and you and Scribe came up. And one of the things that Letty said to me that stuck with me was like, if you like hip hop, sure you'll like Scribe, something along those lines. And it's not a diss to him, but he was saying that he's like, now Mareko, he is hip hop. Like, and I was like, huh? And he's like, Mareko is hip hop, and he just, and Letty, when he says something. But I just wanted to mention that, man. It's an honor to have you on. Like, I never would have thought, all them years ago, I'd be, talking to one of the MCs that, back then we were waiting for y'all worldwide. It's like, oh man, we got up and coming guys right now. We're about to blow up the scene with Polynesians, and it's just awesome to still be talking to you in the game, this many years later. Like I know artists, y'all don't. You like to evolve, and you still, like your old stuff, but, you kind of move past it. But, hey, man, Here to Stay is still, that thing's still bumping. I'll put it on over in the weight room when me and my squad are lifting, and, just to let them know. So, hey, thanks for joining us.
Hey, man, appreciate that. Yeah, Litty Litz, he's a one-of-a-kind character, man. When he came down to New Zealand, he let it be known. He let his presence be known. He sort of balances out also. But, now pleasure and an honor and a privilege to connect with the Slap Symphony, talented producers. He was, I think he came because I think he's related to one of the other boys, which is Scribe's cousin. And also big up to Scribe. He accomplished and broke down a lot of doors and broke through some barriers for the up and coming generation in the hip hop scene. But yeah, that was my style, man. I was the hip hop head. Like I just love rapping. My whole thing was like concentrating on like metaphors, saying things a smart way, not just coming out and saying it. I like to like craft clever ways of saying things with punchlines and similes. But and saying that, Litty Litz was right. I did focus more on like my pen game, and it was awesome because it took me to the States to record with these guys I looked up to as a fan of hip hop, like Inspector Dick from Wu-Tang Clan, the Beatnuts, the Alcoholics, and to stand toe to toe with them and hold my own. Like you mentioned, Here to Stay. A lot of people don't know that singing the hook on Here to Stay is actual young Joel Ortiz. He's in Slaughterhouse now. And to get that chance and opportunity and meet, beautiful, talented people along the way, like the Slap Symphony crew, it's just one of the bonuses for me anyway.
All right, let's talk concrete cutting. And who better to go to than All Pro Concrete Cutters, owned by the one and only Thomas Fa'aliliu. They're pros with over a decade of experience, so you know you're in good hands. Whether it's big or small, residential or commercial, they've got the skills and the tools for any job. Thomas Fa'aliliu and his team take pride in their work, making sure that your project is done right and on time. No cutting corners here, just precision and passion. Check out their website at www.allproconcretecutters.com or give them a call at 801-834-8835. Go with All Pro Concrete Cutters for top-notch results. All Pro Concrete Cutters, your concrete dreams cut to perfection. Now, actually, I wanted to get back because you were making the point about how you love hip hop and you're all about it, and I just wanted to touch on that even real quick because, like I said, I was one of the uninitiated, and as I started getting more into New Zealand hip hop, what really stood out to me about a lot of the artists from New Zealand is that they're legit keepers of the flame, if you know what I mean. Because out here in the West, hip hop is constantly in a state of change, and it's kind of like that. We get it. Time goes on, people want to update things, make things fresh, but sometimes the change gets too rapid, and things start changing too much to where it doesn't even sound like hip hop anymore. And so, like one of the biggest themes in Western hip hop is how all the other hip hop sucks nowadays. You know what I mean? They're always talking about this is all too whack. Everything's whack except for me. But when I listen to artists in New Zealand, I'm like, it still is to the core, like the elements are preserved, and that's why I say like they're legit keepers of the flame. And so when I discovered this whole new, I don't want to call it a subgenre because it's all hip hop, but when I discovered this new chapter, I was excited because it sounded like the hip hop that I like, that I enjoy, and they're keeping it alive. So I don't know if you wanted to speak on that in any more depth. You've kind of touched on that already, but I'm very grateful to discover that from on your side of the world.
Yeah, well, I feel like, American hip hop will always be Mecca, will always be the home of the culture. But I feel like international, countries all over the world, they get into hip hop. Usually they tend to stick with the elements and the traditional foundations of hip hop. But, that's hip hop is more of a business now. And America leads the way, whereas what you hear on the airwaves is not really a true reflection of the culture. It's what the labels and the industry want you to hear and what really makes the most money, where I feel like, we're still catching up to whatever America's doing. And I can slowly see it transitioning now from artists that were on the radio. They're slowly being copying what's in the States. So I guess that's just the evolution with not only culture, but I think that's the business aspect coming in from the labels trying to push this money making narrative,
Right on. And, like I said, it's not to say that there aren't our people in the trenches still trying to fight the good fight on this side, but, it makes you sad that sometimes the stuff that's really blowing up isn't, exactly the best representative of the culture. I'm grateful 100%. That on your side, they've seemed to have preserved that pretty well. And I'm very impressed.
Yeah. Now, what's real big now is in Australia is with Polynesians is drill music, is drill rap, and they've sort of taken on that culture too. Not only the music but the whole aspect of feuding teams where the violence in it too. But like I said, I guess that's just the evolution of the art, But there is still a lot of dope and talented musicians, not only in hip hop. It's just that it's sad that it's not being pushed to the mainstream. It's all this other music to subdue us or keep our communities down. But I guess we just have to look because it is out there.
Sticking along those lines, with artists that need to be pushed out there, are there any that stick out to you right now that you want to shout out and put us on? Because like Spence, we're kind of slow over here trying to catch up. I just barely heard about. I don't know if his name's Standard.
Standard, that's a group out of outside of South Auckland. I think that's a trio, and they make dope, beautiful music. They're really stuck to the essence, and not only are they good beat makers, rappers, but they're also beautiful singers. Like sometimes they might just come out with an R&B cut, and there's super talented people. There's another group from Auckland called Church and AP, which I feel is good, and also the Movement. He makes beautiful traditional hip hop music, telling real stories of the street. But like I said, what's big now is the Australian story, which is being forefronted by groups like HP Boys, 1-4, and there's a solo Samoan MC called Lisi out here killing it. Should give those guys a listen to if you get a chance.
Now let's talk about your solo album, White Sunday. How was it? And I believe that's the album that brought you to America and allowed you to work with other people here in the States. Could you talk about that, please?
Yeah, so I come from a group called Deceptikonz, and we dropped our debut album in 2001. And around that time, I was making my name and building my reputation as through the battle scene, through the MC battle scene, and the label that we were signed to thought, oh man, this dude's got some talent. Let's invest in him, put some money in him. So I got the opportunity to travel to the States and create my debut solo album, White Sunday. It's me going over to the States, a young Samoan boy from the other side of the world. I really wanted to represent who I was and my people and where I was from to the fullest, which is why I chose the album White Sunday. But, a young Polynesian boy from the other side of the world, all we want to do is we dream about making it to the States, because all we're fed over here is through music, through TV, through cinema, is American culture. So to go over there was like the final goal. And to achieve that was so awesome. It was a real surreal feeling, It was like jumping through the TV and sitting on the Sesame Street stoop. And, just walking through Harlem, and that was like a dream come true. And it was like you're part of a movie. But to me, representing our culture and who I was amongst the greats was definitely a surreal experience. Sometimes I still, think about it and say, man, that was, I'm truly am blessed to have that opportunity that, a lot of kids aspire to do. And not only that, but just seeing because I got to record with the Licks in LA too. And one of the big culture shocks for me is how many Polynesians there are in the States, especially on the West Coast. And, the big difference I saw over there between the Polynesians there and over here was how big everyone was. It's like, damn. But, definitely eye-opening and, truly blessed, man. It was a truly blessed experience.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, there's a rumor going about Matai Watches and doing a collaboration with you, White Sunday. What can you share about that?
Yeah, so I've been fortunate enough to do some stuff with Matai Watches, and my whole thing is to support Polynesian business. Support the local brown businesses coming up, because I don't know if it's how prevalent it is in the States, but we got a problem with tall poppy syndrome down under, where no one really, they want to see you make it, but they don't really want to see you make it. So I try my hardest to big up and promote local up and coming Polynesian business as much as I can. So I shot an idea to Nick from Matai Watches. I was like, hey man, I'm putting out my 20th anniversary White Sunday vinyl package, and I just asked if he'd be keen to collab, and he was all for it. And it's just blessed to see two entities in different fields come together and put something together. So I'm releasing a 20th anniversary vinyl package where I'm only pressing 150 vinyls. There's 3 different levels. So there's the first level is I'm only pressing 20 of them, which is a white vinyl, symbolic to White Sunday. The second level is I'm pressing 30 grey vinyls, and the last level is I'm pressing 100 traditional black records. So anyone that purchases the top tier, which is the white vinyl, gets it also comes with a customized White Sunday watch. So that's massive, not only for the customer but for me to have them included in that. And that package as a whole, man, you buying vinyl and you're getting a free Matai White Sunday watch that's so massive.
Man, that's a huge deal. That's a really awesome collab. Yeah, that's a
huge deal.
I mean, and then Nick, shout out to Nick and all those guys. They're good people. We love
100%.
what they do over there, and you said it all when you say some people want to see you make it, but they don't really want to see you make it. But like we just started on this podcast journey a little more than a year now, maybe a year and a half, etc. But we're not the biggest platform, but we've tried to do the same. Much of our podcast has been dedicated to platforming others of our people and just showing we're a vast swath of differences. Some of us are rappers, some of us are concrete cutters, some of us are rugby coaches, players and coaches. And so we're not what little of our platform we can share, we're happy to do so. And in return, people have helped us grow as well. So it's nice to see these collabs keep happening. And with you working with Matai Watches, that's an awesome collab.
No doubt, yeah. It's definitely is a big moment. I feel, yeah.
Speaking on albums, so I'm kind of dumb in my reading comprehension, but I'm seeing that you're Untitled Act 1. Is that the first of 3 albums, a 3-part series with you and was it Ricky Paul music?
Yeah, producer Ricky Paul. Yeah, so this is I'm doing like a trilogy series. So I released last year an album. I'm working with a producer called Ricky Paul. He's produced for big acts, international acts. So this will be my last music I'm putting out, and so super exclusive. No one knows that this is my last piece of work. So you guys you hear it here first.
Dang.
So I released that last year, and I'm doing Act 2, which is coming out this year, and then Act 3 next year, and that's it. That's all the music I'll be putting out. So I'm gonna be a full-time daddy.
Oh, shout out! Hell yeah! Real quick though, what are they saying? Man, we can hear the evolution in that. Adaptability straight up, and that's fire, man. I love it. At first,
Appreciate that.
I was like, is that him? Because I just see who's the music credits, and I'm not watching the video. I'm just playing it, and then I'm like, oh shoot, that is him. And it's man, I got that thing on repeat. But I
appreciate that, man. Yeah, that's a different sound for me. That's that 3/4 time signature. But I try to step out of my comfort zone and try something new. But stay true to myself too. I'm not trying to be someone I'm not. Just trying a new style, a new flow. And a lot of people are feeling it because I'm saying some stuff in there too. So appreciate you heard that.
And then I also seen in another interview that was you and Ricky Paul music, I think it was, with the Bass Breakfast.
Yeah.
We're working on a final Deceptikonz album as well.
Yeah, well, we released that last year. That came out last year in perpetuity. So that was our final album as a group because, we all got our own solo careers going. So to come back after maybe 8 years after our previous Deceptikonz album, that was our last one. Just a love letter to the fans that, because man, we're old men now. We've been in the game 20 plus years. So that was a love letter to, all the old heads and the fans that stuck by us. Yeah. So that came out last year. and that's actually been nominated for Pacific Album of the Year. Shout outs to Matai Watches for sponsoring that too. So yeah, man, 20 years in the game and still getting nominated for awards. It's truly blessed. Not many can say that, especially in hip hop music.
That's true. That is a huge, like, that's a huge statement of how significant of a contribution y'all have made, like, as 100%. Now I'm just curious because you did us the kindness of saying we're hearing it here first that you're planning on laying down the mic and becoming a full-time daddy. What kind of thought process brought you to that? Is it something that's been on your mind for a while now, or I'm sure it's not something you take lightly.
Oh man, I'll always be a fan of hip hop music, and I'll always be, scribbly rhymes here and there. But to pursue it full time is real time consuming, and and we're independent. We've got no big label behind us, so we're putting a lot of money into it. So financially, may not be the most viable thing because it definitely is hard to make a living of music. But yeah, I think it's just my time now. Once the gray hairs started popping up in your beard, I think it's time to leave it to the youngins.
The fans might start thinking White Sunday means something else. It's like, no, hold up. No, but I think that's a cool way to approach that. And actually, I respect it too because we've all there's some people have made their contribution, and maybe if it wasn't the most, like, they stand out. Like I was thinking, like Big Pun, unfortunately gone before, like way too soon. Dropped what's essentially one album, but he's a legend. Biggie, we got 2 albums, and I think that's better sometimes. Not that they're gone, because of course that was a tragedy, but sometimes there's people who maybe stick around too long. Like they're not gone long enough for us to miss them or whatnot. And I think it says something when you can say, you know what, this is my art and this is my masterpiece. This is the note I want to leave you on. But I also got to think. We see, let's say in the world of fighters, cage fighters, and boxers and stuff like that, sometimes they retire, but, every once in a while they feel like they got one more in them. Do you think you could rule out the possibility that maybe one day you're just getting that itch, you're hearing too much whackness around you, you got to put it in its place or something like that, maybe something left in the basement, Yeah,
maybe. Like, you can never say never. I don't want. You're right. I don't want to. Roy Jones myself and get punched out of the ring at 40 years old. But hip hop is a young man's sport, and I will always have a love and admiration for the art. I don't want to take advantage of it and disrespect it by putting out some subpar stuff. But I think the testament to our longevity is, just staying true to who we are and not following any trends. Like if you listen to my music, I try and stay in my own lane and do what's natural to me because, the public can see if you're trying to force feed them some or trying to follow a trend. And I think that tarnishes your legacy. So I think a testament to our legacy is just staying true to who we are and not trying to copy anyone, not trying to copy the current trend because, like I said, the public can see right through that. Eh?
Speaking of trends, I'm about to follow one right now. As you know, and over here in the States, anytime they have a hip hop artist on, they always ask about a top 5. Do you have any? Do you have a top 5 hip hop list, or at least you don't have to rank them in greatness, but maybe artists that are on top of your playlist right now, or your preferred type of listening.
Yeah, well, always will be Tupac number 1 for me. Biggie, Jay-Z, Eminem, and I think my underground roots are coming out. I'll probably say Ras Kass from Carson. He was a big influence for me. And Thurston Howe out of Brooklyn. You know, I really they really honed my pen game coming up in the late '90s.
Kind of along those lines, if you know, just reflecting on all that you've done and all the people you've collaborated with, if you could collab with one artist that you haven't worked with yet, who would it be?
Damn, shucks. Probably Bob Marley, Michael Jackson.
Yeah, like, hey, I
Yeah.
feel that. I feel that. You know,
Like I collabed with, like I said earlier, I collabed with Inspector Deck from Wu-Tang Clan. Like, and to me, technically, as a rapper, as an MC, him and Method Man more now, his pen game I feel like has improved. But to me, Inspector Deck was like the epitome as a MC in the Wu-Tang Clan. You know, he was so awesome in the studio when we were recording White Sunday. You know, we had fees for all the artists that we were that I was collabing with, and a lot of them would just get their money, you know, write something and then go in the booth and then get their money and just leave. You know, that's their job done for the day. But cool thing about Inspector Deck, he's like a real lover of making quality music. So when he recorded his verse and he came out and listened to it, he was like, man, you know what? Man, I want to go home and I want to polish my verse up and I want to come back. So he came back and the next day, and he didn't even have to do that. But he was such a lover and, you know, a fan of the art form of rapping. He wanted to come back and make sure that the song was as good as possible. And he didn't have to do it. And out of all the guys, he was like the top. His pedigree was top above, like, you know, all of them. You know, for him to do that was just a testament of his legacy too, because he's trying to make quality music. So yeah, definitely a dope experience.
shout out to Inspector Deck because like he's my personal favorite of the Wu-Tang. I think it's a tragedy that he's the biggest victim of the infamous flood.
The floods.
Because
oh no,
I want to live in an alternate reality where we got it, you know, the INS like official solo album, like on the same caliber as like Liquid Swords and all of them. It's like, because I love all those albums, but Deck never got his due, unfortunately. But even on the group albums, to me, the Deck verse was the one I was looking for.
Oh man, yeah, 100%. Yeah, such a shame that Triumph, a bomb atomically. Man, that verse is you know, top 10 of all time.
100%.
Yes, such a shame that that he got hit with that tragedy of RZA's flood. You know, he knows the whole, like you said, in an alternate reality, he'd be top 3. You know what I mean?
And speaking of Triumph verse by Inspector Deck being one of the most legendary of all time, do you have any favorite bars of your own or any artists that, you know, you kind of just think about every day and ponder by and kind of live by?
Yeah, you know, that verse is definitely top 10 for me. Probably my all-time favorite verse is probably AZ's verse in Life's B on Nas's Illmatic album. I always go to that verse for like, man, this dude was spitting, he was dropping gems. I think in like, what was that, 1991? Yeah, that's my go-to verse. AZ, another slept-on MC, another underappreciated MC, much like Inspector Deck.
Definitely. And how about from your catalog? Like, let's say, you know, you get somebody who's just discovering you for the first time. You only have one verse of your own that embodies you and what you want them to take from you. If they experience one verse of yours, can you think of one that would you would want them to hear? I know it's kind of probably takes a lot of thought. That's like a deep one to drop, like in a spur of the moment. So I won't hold this to you as completely binding, but you know, off the top of your head, if you could think of one.
Probably Late Nights. It's one of the songs on Act 1 that I just dropped last year. Probably that because it's more it's more close to how I feel right now at the moment. It's just a tale about growing up in South Auckland and how far I've come to where I am now. Not being worried about the current politics in the game, but just appreciating life. So probably that one, Late Nights. If you guys haven't heard it, make sure you go Spotify and give it a whirl.
I'm there right after this, 100%.
Hey,
That's why I asked, because I need the recommendation from the man who knows.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Before we close, though, I just want to say that, man, your careers as an MC could possibly, come to the end. You might put the mic down, forever at the end of, your trilogy. Who knows? Nobody knows. But I love I don't know if you call it poetic or something else. I don't know how to word it, but just, Here to Stay, your song, it speaks true to, your legacy as an MC, always with us, always definitely there on, your side of the world, but definitely with the Polynesian community and hip hop, as far also setting example, not just for those MCs on your side of the world, but just out here on our side as well. I don't think, artists here can ignore your existence and everything you've done. But it's beautiful to me. Just, man, Here to Stay was that one that put you on the map, at least for us and me. And then, you are here to stay forever. And that's freaking awesome, man. I love it, man. And once again, it's an honor to have you on.
Hey, man, appreciate that. And appreciate the talk too, having me on your guys' platform. Yeah, it's much appreciated.
Sorry, I know we're trying to wrap up. I just wanted to thank you again because, what you all do out there, you and all your contemporaries out there in New Zealand hip hop, like you hold it down for reals. And, not too long ago, we had the opportunity to have one of the homies on Uptown Suite. And for him, making the trip to come out to New Zealand, it was like a game changer for him. Like, he spoke very, very gratefully, reflecting on that time, saying this is what he needed to get his mind right, get his life right, get his music right. And so, like, we've seen the influence that y'all have not just taken from the U.S., but some of our MCs here are taken from y'all, and we're all the better for it. So thanks for, like I said, y'all are keepers of the flame, and we appreciate it.
Hey, man, thank you. Appreciate that. Shout out to Uptown Suite. Heavily slept on.
Yes, sir.
Too. Heavily
100%.
slept on.
Do you have any more shout outs who you want to shout out before we close?
I'll just shout out to you guys, man, and shout outs to Matai Watches for, keeping the Polynesian flame going in this industry. And Act 2 dropping this year. And look out for the White Sunday 20-year anniversary package. Yeah, thank you.
And to our listeners, please go follow Mareko. Listen to his music on all the music platforms, Spotify, YouTube. And thank you for tuning into this episode of Behind the Lava Lava. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow Behind the Lava Lava and leave us a review. And thank you for joining us. We hope you found this interview informative and insightful. Until next time, Tofa Soifua.